What's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another player interview. This time a little bit late, but better late than never. I'm here with Matt Sublett, the winner of the Charlotte Celebration event. I know this isn't a profile from the Chicago event, but Matt reached out to me and he told me he was sick for the past week, so he wanted to get this out there to the public. So thank you, Matt, for letting me, profile this. I appreciate you reaching out.
Okay.
How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So, you won the event with Green Yellow Broly. So, we're gonna go into the profile for sure and check out the main deck, the side deck. But what do you feel like brought you to that #1 spot? Was it the playtesting? Was it your testing group? What do you think it was that really propelled you to the top?
Well, I've been testing this deck since before there was even a Paragus announced, except for the super combo. My team and we printed paper copies of it, so I've been trying this deck for a very long time. I love Broly. He's my favorite character in the show, and so I really wanted to do well, and so I worked really hard with this deck to do that. And my team is really nice to test with because they're all really good players. And so, from day one, I've been losing. So I know how not to lose.
Nice. And where are you guys all from?
We're from Virginia, near Star City Games.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, yeah, with that being said, we'll get right into it. So, I like to give people a little bit of a sneak peek as to what goes on in the mind of a top player. So, we'll go into the main deck. So, 2 Death Ball, only 2 negates. I know you have 3 Roshis, but did you never ever feel like you wanted more Death Balls in the main deck?
Well, so the idea behind only 2 Death Balls is because my Brolys also sort of function as a negate, so I only really need to stop the leader swing in most cases. Any deck that I felt like I needed more Death Ball, I sided the 3rd one for it.
Right.
But 2 Death Ball really did well. It did what it was supposed to do all day, honestly. I will be bumping it up to 3, cutting Tragic down to 2 because of all of the vanilla Gokus.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Death Ball, personally playing skillless, Death Ball is definitely one of those cards you got to play around. And so moving on next, 4 of the 1-drop Broly. So a lot of Green Broly lists don't play 4 because your leader does search it. So why did you decide to play 4?
Well, this deck really does have a lot of room, and it's okay to max out on certain cards. Maxing out on the 1-drop Broly really doesn't hurt you in the long run. You'll always be able to have it at least. Because if your leader searches at the start of the game and you don't find your Broly, you're going to lose that game.
Right.
But with 4 of him, it also really helps you when you're setting up the secret rare plays. Those plays tend to be very complicated, and by the time you get to them, unless your opponent has helped set you up for turn 2, the 1-drop, it's very nice to have that 4th copy to get to.
That makes sense. And actually, talk about the turn 2 secret rare play. Can you name off the top of your head how many times you won with the turn 2 secret rare play?
Twice, actually. In top 8 against Danny Wynn, he set me up to do it on turn 2, and then Isaiah set me up to do it on turn 2. A lot of people make a big mistake against this deck, actually. They see that your little Broly's going to take life, and so they think they have to do as much damage as possible on that first turn. But really what they should do is leave you at 4. If they leave the Broly player at 4, I can't do the secret rare play dropping myself to 1 life. There's 1 extra mana that I need that I just don't have. But if you put me to 3, then I can go straight to the secret rare as long as I have Rampage Trigger, the necessary pieces of the chain, and 1 more thing to pop a card, either Mechanism or Sacrifice.
Okay.
So if you watch that game, what Isaiah did wrong was when I was at 5 life, he swung and he chomped. The East Kai, but whatever. He chomped and put me to 3. And that's why I was able to do that on turn 2 to him.
Gotcha. So you went into it a little bit, but can you go into the sequence of the turn 2 secret rare play?
Yeah, of course. So your opponent has to put you at either 3 or 2 for you to get the full value out of it. So you have the 1-drop Broly on board. You charge a green mana. It's very important to have 2 green mana for this. You have your 1-drop Broly. You play your Paragus Rampage Trigger. Cost you 2 mana. Get Control Mechanism. Rampage Trigger will crack the little Broly, and you can go down to 1 life to play your 4-drop, search whatever piece you're missing. Then your Control Mechanism cracks your 4-drop, goes into your 6-drop. Your opponent has to have a dude for this too. But if they put you to 3 life, they probably swung with some battle card. And, I really thought not popping the battle card would be obvious that I was trying to set the secret rare up, but Nobody seemed to notice that I left the battle card there and just took the damage instead of blowing it up. But so they have a battle card. You pop their battle card and your 6-drop. You go into your 8-drop, and then you awaken your well. You had to awaken your leader to do that. Sorry. You get that untapped mana, and then you just tap that green mana for either a mechanism or a sacrifice. Pop the 8-drop for the secret rare.
All right, thanks for the in-depth analysis into the turn 2 secret rare play. Now people know how to play around it, which is awesome. So we'll go on to the next couple cards. The Deadly Premonition Paragus, a card that in my testing I started out with 4 of it. Quickly realized that it actually whiffs quite a lot, and I definitely cut it down as well. So do you feel like this card's still important to the deck?
So the card is going to whiff very often. You actually don't have that many targets in the deck. He's not there to work. His main purpose in this deck is to give your leader a free pop.
Mm-hmm.
So you play him for 1 mana, and then your leader's effect can pop him in one of your opponent's guys, and you untap that mana. And that allows you to not only take out one of their battle cards, but it leaves you with your chain where it was. So you don't have to progress your chain, which is important because your opponent is constantly trying to get you to go up the chain so they can answer the 8-drop.
Right. And then coming over to Ties That Bind Ba. This is a card that actually I haven't seen in any of the other Top Cut Broly lists. So is this really just to like propel the 2-drop secret rare play, or why do you play this card?
So it can propel the 2-drop secret rare play, but its main purpose is to just reset your chain on green mana. So as you know, if you play the 1-drop Broly from your hand, you have to take 2 damage. And then when you pop it, you have to take another damage. So it costs 3 life to play it from hand. But if you play it from drop, you don't take that initial 2 damage. So Ba resets that chain with only 1 damage. So it sort of serves the same purpose that Frieza's Call serves, but on green mana instead of yellow. And then you can't combo with Frieza's Call, but you can tap it for Cold Bloodlust. And you can combo with Ba. So that's why I've got a 2-2 there, so that I have the ability to reset my chain on whatever mana I need to reset it on. And they have second utilities in a way.
Fair enough. Honestly, I didn't know that the 1-drop Broly only got its effect from playing from hand, so that actually is a lot better than I thought it was originally. So then control mechanism, the 4 sacrifice, 4 rampage trigger, 4 super combos. Love the ratios. So Tragic Awakening, you mentioned you're going to cut down, but this is a card I actually increased in my testing. So talk about why you want to cut this down to 2.
Well, Tragic Awakening, it's a great card, honestly. It's probably one of the best cards in the deck. For 3 mana, you cheat a 6-drop out. That's unbelievable. I can't believe they made the card like that. But this deck, because I'm running yellow, it's spell heavy. And so to up a spell like Death Ball, like I said I was going to do, I have to cut another spell. And I don't want to mess with the yellow numbers, so I'm not going to cut Broly Mechanism. Tragic Awakening is just kind of the odd man out in that case.
Gotcha.
Also, Tragic Awakening, when it comes to post side, is one of the worst mistakes you can make with this deck, because everybody sides the Heavenly Wizard Demigra. It's in this side deck too. I was using it. And if you Tragic Awakening, all you've done is you've set up your mana to be 3 or less, so your opponent can clear your 8-drop so much easier. And as a result of that and trying to play around that card, I normally sided Tragic Awakening down to 2 for a Shocking Death Ball as it was. So I don't think there's any love lost cutting it to 2.
Makes perfect sense. Appreciate the explanation. So then we get into the rest of the chain, the 4-drop, the 6-drop, and the 8-drop, then the secret rare. Won you 2 games just on the turn 2 play. I'm sure it won you a ton more games. I know it actually won you all 3 games in the finals, right?
Game 1 I lost even though I played it. But yeah, game 2 and 3 I also got really lucky and had it all 3 games, and it took game 2 and 3 for me.
Nice. So then we come over to the yellow package. So you have the 4 Bloodlust, the 2 Frieza Call, and the 3 Roshi. So yeah, talk about this package a little bit. I mean, Frieza Call, what's your most fetch target with this card?
Frieza's Call, most of the time, honestly, just charges for yellow mana. Okay. But when I would play it, it normally gets Rampage Trigger. Frieza's Call is like a backup plan when you don't have Rampage Trigger and you're missing a piece of your chain. So you can Frieza's Call, it gets Rampage Trigger from your deck, does not activate Mechanism. Rampage Trigger only activates Mech if it's played from hand. But it still lets you go in for your next piece. And so That's one of the main purposes. The second purpose is, like I was saying earlier with Ba, you reset your chain by summoning Broly from your deck. You don't take that initial 2 damage, and you can get going again. And it leaves your green mana open for you to play things like Sacrifice or Mechanism or Rampage Trigger, things like this. So those are really the only 2 times that you use Frieza's Call in this deck. Otherwise, you're discarding it for Broly effects or charging it for yellow mana.
Makes sense for sure. And then we have the 3 Roshi. So I've talked to a few players that play the green-yellow variant, and they just tell me that there really are no better yellow cards to play, and that even though sometimes you can't resolve Roshi, it's just, there's, like I said, no better yellow cards to play. So is that why you played Roshi, or do you actually have a good reason behind this card?
So initially, in Roshi's stead, I was playing the 4-drop Clash of Fates Piccolo SPR that says I can win.
Okay.
Because in all honesty, all this yellow slot, these 3 cards only have to be a yellow card that you can combo with for 5k.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter that it's Roshi. Ultimately, I chose Roshi because it serves as a way to play around your opponent minus Keely zoning you. It gives you something to do with that yellow mana, and that ended up winning out over trolling.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, that's a really good point. I like that a lot. You know, you took a card that counters one of your deck strategies, which is Bloodlust, and you kind of you gave it a utility, which is really, really cool. One player actually that made top cut in teams, I saw he was playing Zarbon instead of Roshi. So real quick, I mean, I thought it was really interesting tech. What do you think about that in the Roshi spot?
That seems fine, honestly. A lot of times I was using Roshi to sort of combo to defend myself, but most players don't attack the chain. I've noticed that, because if you're not against a deck that can pop the chain readily, like something like Skillless Goku, you can sit on the 6-drop for a long time. And if your opponent swings into that and they start comboing stuff, they're kind of losing the game anyway. Especially in a deck like this that filters through its deck so quickly. I've probably got at least 1 super combo. You're not beating it. I don't need to restand it to protect it in most cases.
Fair enough. Yeah, I definitely don't think it's the most optimal card, but I thought it was pretty interesting. So we'll hop over to your sideboard. So 3TN. So this is a deck that I've noticed does have somewhat of a hard time with Janemba, because, you know, you can only go tall. You can't really go too wide. And, you know, they just negate all of your pretty much tall swings. So obviously this card helps a lot in Janemba, but how is the Janemba matchup overall for you?
Terrible. The Janemba matchup is the worst matchup for this deck. Granted, if you open with a secret rare, it is the easiest matchup of this deck. The secret rare has some lovely interactions with Janemba. The most enjoyable interaction with the secret rare versus Janemba is that if you're at 1 life when you swing with the secret rare, your auto and Janemba's auto trigger at the same time, and yours resolves first. So they can't use their leader's effect to negate its attack.
That's really good to know, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, actually, if you have the secret rare. If you don't, it's a struggle. It's a horrible, horrible struggle.
Right.
Because you can't go wide. Your game plan really is to just sit on 2 6-drops. You play one the hard way and you Tragic Awakening the other, and you just hope they run out of negates and pseudo combos and super combos before you run out of cards in your deck.
Right.
You're not going to lose that match because they swing on your life and kill you that way. You're going to get milled out.
Exactly, yeah. And one thing I noticed, one thing I saw, I don't know if you saw, I did a Broly interview last week from Chicago, from Charlotte as well, and he actually main decked the Super 17 package. I don't know if you saw that, but that was actually a really interesting way to combat the deck's pretty much worst matchup.
I did see that, actually, and in testing, my team and I had the 4-drop 17, the one where you discard 2 and your opponent discards 2.
Right.
And we found that a lot of times it doesn't really come up. Against Janemba, it doesn't make that much of a difference. They've got so many cards in their hand because you've swung on them so much that discarding 2 of their cards, they're probably going to discard cards they didn't need anyway.
Gotcha.
And the attacks aren't enough, and you have to combo with the 17 to not get it demon sorted so you can get it back. So it's still 1 less attacker that you have. It's rough. It's really rough.
Gotcha. How much Janemba did you run across throughout the tournament?
In teams, my team and I, we got 3rd place. I actually used this same list except 2 Krona in the main instead of the 2 Deadly Premonitions. And I lost twice to 2 Janembas.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. I misplayed against one of them. I had the secret rare set up, but like I said earlier, sometimes it gets really complicated with that card, and I made a mistake along the way.
Right, a little
And
sequence error.
and yeah, and then the other one, his first Janemba swing milled it, and
Dang.
and then game two, it was the last three cards in the deck.
Gotcha. And then did you play against it all in singles or no?
No, actually, I was lucky enough to dodge all of the Janemba in singles. I was very fortunate for that.
Definitely fortunate. And then is the overseeing time also for Jemba to get the secret rare back?
That is the only reason that card is there. Yes, that is 100% the reason.
Gotcha, gotcha. So then we have the Cronoa on the sideboard, respecting Shugesh. Heavenly Wizard Demigrass. So this is a card that I personally hate sideboarding because I feel like my opponent, if they're good, they can just play around it. So going into games 2s and 3s, did you like always play around this card or kind of just tell your opponent like, you know, you have it, you have it?
No, you absolutely play around this card. The nice thing about Broly is that the tempo at which you play is defined entirely by your opponent's deck. If they're a fast, aggressive deck, you can be faster or slower if you need to be. Like against Skillless, for example, you don't even need to go into the 6-drop. Sitting on the 4-drop is enough to quill most of their threats. And then you progress your chain when you want. You play around Android 8. That's very nice. And because you don't have to go so fast, you can play around Demigra very easily. Sitting on the 4-drop means that they have to invest a lot of effort getting you to the 8-drop just so they can Demigra before you're on 4 life or 4 energy. Sorry.
Gotcha. And, oh, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I side it because it's for the mirror match. I get to force their chain. I get to choose when they go into their next level. And the mirror match is just so hard with this deck because it really is a dice roll. Who goes first? Who has the better hand?
Right.
And all the way to win that match is to break their chain as quickly as possible. So what you can do is you do your normal play, the trigger play. You can go into your 6-drop, but along the way, your 4-drop can blow up their 1-drop. Then your leader can blow up their 4-drop and your 4-drop. And then your 6-drop blows up their 6-drop. And then you can combo with the Demigra to kill their 8-drop, assuming they had all of that.
Right.
And
if they don't have any of that at that point, their chain's done anyway.
Right. And then you've cleared their entire chain and you're sitting on your 6-drop, which means they cannot clear it on their next turn unless they summon a card, blow it up with their leader, and also have Demigra.
Excellent, man. I know the viewers are really going to appreciate that in-depth kind of explanation. Then we have the 2 Killy Zone and then the 2 Bojack Agent of Destruction. That was a really interesting sideboard tech. Talk about why you sided that.
This was for Janemba. I got tired of losing to Janemba, so I threw some more cards in there to try and make the match better. And I mean, honestly, it's a 3-drop that also requires 2 mana to keep their leader tapped down. Probably won't come up that much, but it does. Janemba does give you the time that you need to make cheeky cards like that work. So that was the idea behind it anyway. I didn't really get to test it out.
And then Broly, the Rampaging Horror, was that just more Janemba hate or?
No. I always side this card. No matter what event I'm playing in, no matter how well I'm trying to do, I will always side the SPR Broly 6-drop from the set 1 because that was the very first card I ever pulled out of a pack.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and you can go back and check all my deck lists from all the regionals and Nats and stuff. It's there. It will always be there.
That's super sick, man. Yeah, so I mean that's the whole deck. I mean, I think it's a great deck. I think you're definitely obviously very knowledgeable with the deck, very skillful with it. Any final thoughts about the event or any final shout outs you want to get?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out to Eric Thompson because he's the only person who beat me that day. He beat me in teams and then he beat me again in singles. But at least that trouncing that he gave me helped me learn how to play against the skillless deck because I had no practice against it beforehand. And then I want to shout out to my teammates, Chad Harris and Chesco Paradiso. Without them, I wouldn't be anywhere near as good at this game as I am.
Awesome, man. Any final thoughts on the event?
Yeah, the event itself was amazing. It was free with cash prizes. ARG ran it so nicely. Jim gave out like water and snacks and stuff. I've never gone to a tournament where that was something, and he did that both in teams and in singles. It was fantastic.
Yeah, we got the same thing at Chicago, and it was excellent. Well, Matt, thank you so much for sharing the deck with us. Thank you so much for sharing your insight with us, and we'll see you again the next time you top.
Cool. Thank you.
Hey guys, now that you made it this far, listen good, listen close. In this pile of bulk behind me, I've got a victory strike just sitting there, unsleeved. Just minding its own business, just wants to be played, just wants to be used, just wants to, cheese people out of wins. And I swear, if you don't hit the subscribe button or check out some of our other videos right now before clicking off this video, I'm gonna rip it to shreds. I'm gonna tear it up. I'm gonna waste $500 if you guys don't hit the subscribe button or check out some of our other videos. I swear, I'll do it. I really will.